and I've said in that page that we have the employment eligibility, where I'll say, put up a question. Would you be interested in talking to a lawyer? Would you be interested, just a question to get back market feedback. And then I can immediately say, okay, you ran the question for an hour, 500 people said yes, 100 people said no, how many people didn't answer it? Okay, that tells me, based on our traffic, this is how many people would say yes, and this is how much interest there would be. So that's it was designed initially to be able to put those questions in immediately, to answer questions when you have an idea of something you want to do. So first, identify why it's right for us. Understand who our market is, who the people we're talking to, what are they likely to want, what may they not want. Can they spend $10,000 for a vacation in the Bahamas? Probably not. But can they spend $20 for a dating site? Probably. So those are the kinds of things that you look at. The second thing that you look at is, okay, how am I going to go from, what are all the pieces needed to go from here's an idea to how we're going to execute it. And I think part of looking at different departments, it's okay, it has to go through tech. It has to go, through the QA process. Then are we going to talk to somebody on the phone and sell them? If we're going to talk to somebody on the phone and tell them about it, how much longer is that going to make the call? Okay, are they going to be distracted from doing their real job? Are they going to, it's hard to have a specialist who spends 20 minutes talking to somebody about education and trying to get them excited and so forth, and the person says, no, and then say, okay, well, I've got a new idea, and start all over. By the time you're done with it, you're done. They just want to hang up. So, it's hard to introduce new products over the phone. So, is it something that we would introduce instead of, what we're doing, and is it worth it? What's the value? How much? And maybe we can pick out a certain market and introduce a different product and say, okay, people who don't have their high school diploma, we don't talk to them anyway about education. So that would be a product that we could say, okay, if we want to market to that group and we work with that group, it's not calls that we're giving up, so we're not losing those calls. But so we still have the cost of the person on the phone and phone calls and the management and so forth. But at least we're not losing a different opportunity to do it. So that's how you look at opportunity, is to say, where is your opportunity? We send an email to 1 million people each day. Those 1 million people, a percentage of them open the email. Can we put an ad there? We have the right to send a text to 1 million people each day. Can we have when they click on the job, have an offer? No thank you, and then there's their job of the day versus an ad that they can go to that we get paid for. What's the opportunity there? So all of that is in kind of understanding what it is that we do allows you to understand what would prevent something, and that really gives you the opportunity to say, okay, now I know the boundaries. I know what's out of bounds, what doesn't work, why it doesn't work, so I can create something that follows that path. And that's really what I would look for, is what a gain from this would be, is being able to say, okay, when you come up with an idea, I don't have to shoot it down and say, okay, well, this doesn't work, this, all these reasons, because sometimes people have no idea what we do, and they just kind of are spouting off what in a vacuum might be a good idea, but internally it doesn't seem to make sense because it's not our market, it doesn't work with our flow, just a lot of different things. So those are things that that I think being in this you gain. Understanding what we're trying to accomplish and being in whatever department you're in and saying, here's why we're not accomplishing it, okay, and this is why I think we have an opportunity to accomplish it better. There are two, and I'm going to call them third rails. You guys know what that means? Okay. it's a political term. To basically say the third rail is if you touch it, it kills you. Okay, so like they'd say like race is the third rail in the United States. Any politician who talks about it there's no way. Yeah, it's like or the Social Security raising the age is third rail. You talk about it, you're going to so. The two things that I tried to stay away from was, script changes and tech process changes. And the reason I wanted to stay away from those two is those are opinion-based. I mean, you can have 10 different specialists, and they're going to have 10 different opinions, and there may be, it's not like a hard right or wrong. And it's almost like it's better to just say, here's the one, and you pick one, and you get better at that. It makes you better than just trying every day to turn around and say, well, we're going to change, let's change it, let's change this, because that messes up people more. Technology in the same way. And I'm not saying if you make a really stupid, but you nobody's going to ever really fully agree on every process, but if you embrace and say, okay, our process may have some warts, and I understand that, but let's do the best with what we have and focus on saying, okay, if this is the process we have, how can we be the most efficient possible within that process, as opposed to just simply trying to say, I just want to fight the process every day and show why a different process might be better. I know, for example, work whole fusion. We looked at, like a couple of years ago, looked at changing. We said, let's look at let's see if we should change to, I think we looked at PHP, we looked at ASP.NET, we looked at a lot of different programs, and I think they identified that ASP.NET had the most potential. The problem, and then when you look at the pain of changing, okay, and saying, okay, we have to redo every site, we have to retrain all the people that don't know. There's certain people that knew some of it, some that didn't, but the proficiency, the time frame, everything else, how much that would set us back. That became an issue. So, and the main problem with Cold Fusion was recruiting people. I mean, one of the issues with Cold Fusion is because it's expensive, licensing is expensive, college kids don't work on it. They work on stuff that's free, so they have more access to it, so they use, the free stuff. Cold Fusion is, so you don't have a huge pool of talent. So when we looked at how hard it would be, we said, okay, what's option B? Option B is let's recruit nationally. Okay, so instead of limiting ourselves to just recruiting in Orlando, is it cheaper to hire people outside of the state, relocate them, bring them in, and bring people out? David Foy, we ended up here because of that. So it was, let's find a solution that allows us to grow and hire people without having, and which one's more painful? I mean, it's not an ideal solution. Had we started the company that day, we probably would have gone with a different decision. But looking and saying, okay, it's not like, you can just say, well, I want to tear the whole thing down and start over because, at some point, you kind of have to live with the hand you're dealt. So, that's really, and a lot of the management side is the maturity to understand. When there are, probably my biggest learning curve, and it sounds arrogant, and it is arrogant, but from the time I was 25, I've sat in thousands of business meetings, and pretty much I always thought I was the smartest person. Okay, there's a few times where I was like, oh God, this guy is so, but generally, probably 80% of the meeting, I thought I knew more than anybody else. But you don't always get your way, and really the maturity to say, okay, why is this what they're doing? And what is it now? I can win the battle and lose the war. Okay, and there was a long time that I was looked at as very decisive, very divisive. You know, nobody wanted me in a meeting, okay, because I was smart enough to, you know, make them look bad and make their decision look bad. So if I had somebody who was the CEO of a company and I was consulting for them, or you know, even if I worked for the company and they were a higher position than me, I'd go in, I'd have my opinion, he'd say, no, that's not going to do it. I could tear him apart. Okay, so, but all that did was ruin his credibility and make him hate me. Okay, so what did I accomplish as far as from a business standpoint? I actually shot myself in the foot.